Hey, what's up guys, and today I'm going to be going over my tier list for post-DUAD / Duelist Advance. I know I just did a tier list about a week ago, but I think the format changes a little bit of DUAD, and the set's released pretty close for like Battle of Legends and DUAD, so I thought I'd do one now. And I'll also probably do one in like a month or so for before Justice Hunters. But yeah, anywho, starting off, I'm not going to talk too much about some of the choices because I spent a lot of time talking about them before. Orcust, I'll still put in tier 3. The Mutsuki Orcust deck is seeing a bit of play, but I don't think that deck is that variant's that great, to be honest, not gonna lie. But it's alright. Pure Mutsuki, I'm gonna put in tier 2. I know I put Pure Mutsuki in tier 1 last time. I think the deck gets a little bit weaker with the inclusion of Lunalite into the meta, which it's looking like the deck is gonna see at least rogue play. Like, it's kind of hyped, and I know a lot of people are on it. I think people might start to play D-Barrier in their side deck instead of Mischief, and I think if they do that, that's a Pure Mutsuki not trying to have that. I'm not gonna lie. One benefit though is that Pure Mutsuki can play Wosu for the Pure Lunalite deck, which is kind of cool. But at the same time, Lunalite can just make double Liger, so it's a little bit rough. And then like the Boogie and the Hound are still annoying to deal with. So I guess I'll also talk about this deck right now, Mutsuki Fiendsmith, which I didn't have on the tier list last time. Not because I didn't think it was good, I just didn't feel like making the image. But yeah, Mutsuki Fiendsmith I think is tier 1. I think it's better than Pure Mutsuki, like I said before. I think it is better versus D-Barrier. You have more plays on it, which is nice. I also think the deck, the Fiendsmith engine, helps you versus Bystials and like DD Crow, which sounds counterproductive. You're like, I'm adding an engine to my deck that loses to Bystials. How does it help me versus Bystials? But you can just have like having ways to like force the Bystials is like really nice. And then you can like, if you get like Bystial or like Nibbed or like Engraver or whatever, you can still like make a Caesar, which is like kind of cool, especially like to help like Duke Demise. So yeah, I think the Fiendsmith engine is really nice, and like Caesar is a good card versus like Lunalite and whatnot. Gem Knight, I'm gonna put in Rogue. I mean, I'm gonna put in Rogue. I'm not a fan. Punk, I'm still gonna put in tier 3. This Fiendsmith, Bystial, Primite, whatever the heck. I will put this. I'll put it in tier 3. Same. Medius, another new deck. I'm gonna put this in Rogue. I guess it's not Medius, it's like Armia. Armia is okay-ish. Some of the cards are really good. I messed around with the deck a little bit. I think the deck has a couple weaknesses. Number one, the fundamental weakness is that the deck, how do I word this? The deck, the field spell, having to discard specifically spells and traps, it makes it really rough. Especially when most of the non-engine you want to play right now aren't spells and traps. So I think that it's kind of a similar issue to Vanquish Soul. The deck wants you to play non-engine, certain non-engine, but those non-engine cards you're not really trying to play. In terms of specific weaknesses, the deck is pretty good against Fua, but it's kind of weak against Joel, kind of weak against Berulia. Not to say he has 0 plays under them, but there are really, really good cards against the deck, better than you'd like. Also, I think going second, the deck could be a little bit rough because like the field spell and like the continue spell or whatever, like Detonator is pretty good against the deck. So, but it's not that bad though. Some of the cards give a lot of value and are really strong. Like I said, the deck is good in the Fua. Vanquish Soul, I'm going to put in tier 3. I've tested a lot of Vanquish Soul. I think this deck has a high ceiling, but has a really low floor. Vanquish Soul, like Armia, has a non-engine issue. The non-engine you want to play isn't exactly good. I've tried so many different non-engine combinations, and they all feel like really, really rough. It feels like to have a good win rate versus like the decks, especially like the Rise of Mutsuki deck, it's like you gotta like struggle. Cause like I think the best hand traps are like Charmies and Joel. And this deck can't effectively play them all that well. Not that you don't play any of them, but like you struggle playing them compared to like other cards. I think the Vanquish Soul engine is pretty lackluster if you're not drawing attributes with it, because like the 1-card combos, the 2-card combos are just like worse than other decks. So you want to play attributes, but the problem is that all the attributes are like bad, like Dominus Impulse, etc. Like Ghost Bell in Bait Mansion. That card is actually terrible. I don't know how people think that card is playable. But yeah, the deck's not terrible though. Like sometimes like Holy Sue's crazy, and going first sometimes the deck is not bad, but I think you just have a non-engine issue, so sometimes you can struggle going second. But yeah. It's pretty good versus like Fua though. It's unironically surprised me in how good it is versus Berulia and Joel. Like at first I thought, oh, those cards were crazy against the deck, but you actually can like set up like solid stuff through it, which is pretty nice. Blue Eyes Primate, I'm gonna put around the same level I did before. Malice, I'll put Malice in tier 1. I think Malice is really nice still. Also to talk about some of the, I think the newer decks we're getting like Lunalite and Sky Striker, I think Malice has like a really good matchup into them, which is really nice, especially Lunalite. I think Malice has like the best Lunalite matchup out of all the relevant decks, which is pretty cool. Just because the deck can deal with Liger that kind of easily because of Wicked, and also you play all the good hand traps that are like good versus it, like this deals and whatnot. So I think that's a nice buff for Malice. Not a nice buff. It's like not that relevant, but yeah. I'm not gonna spend too much time talking about Malice though, because I have in my last tier list. Monarch, I'm gonna put Monarch in Rogue. I haven't tested this deck too much. I think the deck is not terrible. Like the new support is their cards are really good, especially the spell. It seems like it still has a consistency issue though. Also, it seems like you still can't play that much non-engine. In terms of going second, the engine is not that bad. Like it seems like you can kind of beat like a detonator with engine sometimes, which is pretty cool, but it could be a bit better, especially for a deck that can barely play any non-engine. Also, Joel seems like to be a big issue, but if it was more consistent, I would like maybe rate it like tier 3. Lunalite, I'm gonna put Lunalite in tier 2. I've been testing this deck a lot, like playing a lot of matches versus like meta, versus Ryzel, Mutsuki versus Malice, and the deck has been really, really good. It has been very, very strong for me. I've been a big fan. The deck is pretty good versus like the Charmies. Yeah, versus Fluid, you gotta give them some draws, but giving them draws is normally fine. Like every time I get Fluid, I just play Yu-Gi-Oh! I just ignore the Fluid basically. I'm like, okay, sure. I mean, I don't ignore it completely, like I might not make cross sheet, but you know, I just like try to still make double Liger, because if you make that, you like auto in the game. Going second, the deck is really strong as well, has a really nice engine. People say that the deck can't play that much non-engine, which is true, because you do want to draw like 3+ engine cards, so you're trying to build your deck to draw 1 non-engine card, maybe 2 max. The issue is that, the problem with that assessment of the deck is that the engine is just strong going second. You don't need to draw multiple non-engine. It's not like Malice. I can draw 1 non-engine and win the game comfortably. So I think people are a bit wrong when they say that. In terms of actual weaknesses though, I think the Malice matchup is kind of rough. So I think that's unfortunate. Also, there are some hard counters to the deck if people prepare for the deck. So it depends if the deck's on people's radars, but if it isn't on people's radars, then I think it's really, really nice. Sky Striker, I'm kind of iffy on Sky Striker's placement. I'm kind of thinking about putting it in tier 2 or tier 3. It's like, I haven't tested a deck like that, and I'm really bad at Sky Striker, I'm not gonna lie. In terms of talk about the deck's weaknesses and strengths, new support helps with consistency, durability, like the going first, like, you know, it's really nice. I think there are 2 ways you can build a deck: board breaker and hand trap. I think the deck has more synergy with board breakers. With hand traps, it just doesn't really make that much sense. You're kind of just doing a worse thing other decks are trying to do, because your 1-card combos are worse. With board breakers, you can have a really good matchup against Ryzel, but I think the Malice matchup's rough. I think the Lunalite matchup is rough, and I think Joel is like kind of rough for like the board breaker variant too. But yeah, I'm gonna put in tier 3. Like I said, I haven't tested the deck like that, so there's gonna be a world where it's like higher. Don't hate. 5 Twin Phoenixes, putting this right here, Memento. I'm gonna put in tier 2 like I did before. Which is Cashier Rogue. And these are all just stuff I've talked about before. Christian, I'm gonna put in tier 3. Ryzen Mitsuri, I'm putting tier 2. I still think it's a little bit rough. People are preparing for it. I'm not sure I'm gonna put it in tier 1. Representation wise, it's tier 1, but other than that, I don't know. Yeah, what else are decks are there? White Forest, I have my White Forest's bigger hater. Mermel. Super Quant, I'm gonna put in tier 3. I need to mess around with this deck more. I think this deck does have some potential though. Super Quant with a Fiend Swift engine. I know people are like, oh my god, you play Fiend Swift in every deck. I mean, they're good cards. But the Super Quantum cards are actually really good, ironically. It seems like you get vored by Fua though, so I don't know how strong the deck actually can be, but ignoring this little thing, it doesn't seem bad. Ryzel with like the Dododo engine. I am not a big fan of this. I'm gonna put it in tier 3 for now, but it could be higher. I know some people are like, oh, you can play like Rafflesia with Gravedigger Trap Hole, and that's kind of cool to like have a higher percentage chance to beat Joel. But I feel like it's not that big of a difference, and you do open yourself up to certain cards when you do that, like Imperm, but not Imperm and Rafflesia, but like if you have like Dododo Warrior plus like a Ryzel, you go Dododo Warrior into the Rafflesia, then summon your Ryzel, then like Imperm on that. But it's not bad. Dododo Warrior is a crazy card. I still have to mess around with it a little bit more. The Psychic deck, I'm gonna put it in like Rogue. It could be tier 3 potentially. I'll put it in tier 3 because I think it shares a lot of the same weaknesses that Punk shares. I feel like this deck also just gets bored by Fua. Like I feel like you play a Punk engine in the deck, but I'm not sure this deck is improving on the weaknesses of the regular Punk deck. So I think they're about the same level. Now we have like all the Rizal variants. This variant, I'm gonna put it like the Rogue. This is Dodo, like the Onomot deck. I think this deck is not great. It kind of gets bored by like all the Charmies and Joel and stuff. And yeah. But I mean, I don't think he's better than the Rizal version, basically. And then yeah, Rizal Mutsuki Swift, I'm gonna put a Rogue. I don't think this is very nice. Heraldic Rizal, I'm gonna put in tier 2 still. And Pure Rizal, I'm gonna put in tier 3. But yeah, anywho, that was it. That's my tier list for post DUAD. Like I said, I'm still testing the decks. They're like a couple weeks till the set comes out, so my opinions might change. This is where I'm at right now. I've actually been testing like Lunalite a lot though, and I think the deck is really decent. That's why I have it in tier 2. But yeah, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more, and take care.